Okay guys, right now we're back working on the 4.0 straight six. As you can see, I put a bunch of new freeze plugs in it. And I know freeze plugs, that's a common name. They're not actually to prevent the block from cracking if it freezes. It's a common misconception. Those are casting plugs. It's where the sand casting that's used to cast the hollow voids inside the engine, that's where that casting sand, which was held together with a casting wax, was supported while the cast iron was poured. And then when that wax burned off and the cast iron hardened, you know, the block was tumbled until the sand all fell out through those holes. At any rate, commonly called freeze plugs. That's what everybody calls them. That's what I'm going to call them because it's easier. I've already replaced the ones along here and the one in the back of the engine. This one I've yet to replace though. And the reason I'm replacing them is because the cool guy previous owner ran straight water and he didn't even use distilled water on this. And between electrolysis and corrosion, these freeze plugs were actually rotted all the way through and they were weeping coolant out. So he let this Jeep go for cheap because he thought it had a bad head gasket, but it turns out, you know, I ran a compression test on it. Everything tested good. It wasn't the head gasket, it was these freeze plugs that were leaking, but because of the exhaust and the intake manifold, he couldn't see that. So anyway, tough luck for him, good for me. What we're gonna do is we're gonna replace that last one, and I figured I'd show you guys how to do that. So first thing we gotta do is we're gonna get a nice sharp chisel, or in my case, a nice dull chisel, and a hammer. And basically we're just gonna try to knock this thing out, starting on one side, and sometimes they'll knock inward, sometimes you'll end up punching a hole through, but at any rate, we're gonna see what happens here. We're just gonna beat on it until something happens. Oh, wow, that one popped out really easy. Let's see right there, look at that. That's all corroded on the back side. Nasty, nasty stuff. This is probably the best one out of the bunch, but still, whoop, that's what we're gonna do with that. So now, to install the fresh one, we've got my incredibly neat and tidy workbench here. And we're gonna find a little wire brush and the Dremel tool. And you know what, let's move this engine over here closer so that we can work on it. All right, cool. So use our Dremel tool, we're just gonna clean this up real nice. So we got a good sealing surface. And you know, anytime you're using a power tool like this that throws sparks or little bits of debris, you should use safety glasses. Me being the big hypocrite that I am, I'm not. I got the old safety squints though, just you know, squint the eyes real hard and make sure you got a good eye doctor on standby. All right, so let's clean this up a little bit. A little bit of brake cleaner. Remember that paper cut you got on your finger earlier? Brake cleaner remembers. Yeah. All right. So we're just gonna tidy this up nicely. Try not to blow off too much of my freshly sprayed AMC blue engine paint here. All right. That's nice and clean. Okay. So now I've got my new freeze plug, brand new, and I got this big old diesel 1 5/16 socket that fits nicely inside there. You want to have something big and round. That'll help drive this in evenly, because you don't want to pucker it up or booger the edges. And now what I've been using is this high-tack gasket sealant. Guys use all kinds of different stuff. Some people put them in dry. Some people use RTV silicone, whatever. I haven't done these in a long time, so I'm doing a little bit of this high-tack gasket sealant because it's a non-hardening sealant. It goes in there. You can see here's one that I did. It's still kind of, it feels kind of gummy, sort of like an epoxy. It's not an epoxy, obviously, but come on. All right. and the lids tend to glue themselves on. But as you can see, since it's non-hardening, you can get it out again. At any rate, I'm going to take a little bit of this, and it's nice and stringy. It leaves strings of sealant everywhere. I'm just going to paint the inside of the bore real good. Make sure I get it all. And then for good measure, we're going to paint the outside of the freeze plug. That way we're sure to have the whole sealing surface covered. This stuff is kind of like a shellac or something. I think that's actually what they refer to it as, is a gasket shellac. But this will both lubricate the installation as well as seal it up nicely. And being this one is the back of the cylinder head, I don't feel like I want to do this again anytime soon, because it's going to require pulling the motor if this thing leaks. I mean, not that that's a huge deal, but I'd prefer not to. If I have the choice between pulling a motor and not pulling a motor, I'm going to choose not pulling the motor. Let's do it. How's that saying go? Everybody's got time to, or nobody has time to do it right, but everybody has time to do it twice. Yeah. All right, so I'm going to get a little bigger hammer. There we go. Big brass hammer so I don't mess up my socket. Okay. So then we're just going to align it with the bore. Oh yeah, that actually that pressed in there kind of easy. It's kind of why I like the brass ones. They're a little bit tighter to start with, but this one is snugging up now. And just try to drive it in so it's square. Well, that went in awfully easy. I sure hope it doesn't leak. Hope is not a good plan, right? There. That's come on, get in there. Let me wipe that down with some brake cleaner so I can see what kind of gap we got around the edge here. Okay. Looks like it's still just a tiny bit cockeyed here. Like, see how there's just a little between here and the freeze plug? There's that little space, and over here it's not quite as thick of a space. So I'm just gonna give it a couple more taps until, and I'm going to turn this around so I got better lighting on it. There we go. I'm liking that a little bit better. Yeah, that's a little better. Cool. Give it one more wipe down and that should be it. So in a nutshell, there we go. That's really generally all there is to it. I would feel a little bit more confident had that gone in a little bit more snugly, but it's not so loose that I'm worried about it blowing out, especially with the sealant. So I think we'll be good. And if it blows out, well, stupid me, I get to do it again. But I think that's gonna be good. Now, oh yeah, here we go. Final touch right here, boys and girls. AMC blue. Give it the old crackhead motor build. Motor job in a can right here. Oh, look at that. Just like it grew there. This one I'm not going to bother painting because it's going to be hidden behind the bell housing. Okay, cool. That's how you do a freeze plug. Right there. Knock the old one out, clean it real good. A little bit of sealant, non-hardening is my preference. Ask your parts guy or someone who's an expert if you don't want to take my opinion, whatever. Sealant of choice. Right Stuff, that's some good stuff too. Use it on everything. And just drive in your new one. Drive it in squarely. Make sure it sits square in the bore. And then paint it if you feel like it and you're done. That's it. Good to go. Catch you next time.